What did Capcom do to my weapons? I've got a special video for you today. It is about my first impressions with all the weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds. This is going to be pretty wild and pretty embarrassing, and you're not going to see anything cool in this video, but you might be entertained in some small way, and you can get a little bit of insight into how much the weapons have changed from previous versions of Monster Hunter. Change is good, change is scary, and change will keep this game fresh and give us something to actually learn, because I need to learn a lot about these weapons. I ran through the weapons in the beta without any training, without any looking up how to do anything, without watching any guide videos. And I was running on pure muscle memory, along with a little bit of experimentation and occasionally looking up in the top right corner of the screen to see what else I might be able to do. And I gotta say, I was kind of impressed by some of the weapons in that I was able to be useful with them without any practice. And I was shocked to see that certain weapons are going to take a lot of getting used to. Which weapons those are was actually a surprise to me. So what I'm going to do is go through each weapon and give you an idea of what it looks like when a 14-year Monster Hunter veteran tries out the weapons blind. Not blindfolded, in Monster Hunter Wilds. And if you're new to Wilds or you haven't really tried out a lot of weapons before in previous Monster Hunter games, you might see a preview of what it's going to look like for you on day one with any of these weapons. A little bit of foreshadowing for you. So let's just start right off with bow. I have made so many videos on bow for Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak, and I would say it's the weapon I'm most proficient at from Sunbreak. What Wilds has done with bow is completely reinvent it. All right, so yeah, some of you are saying, oh, well, you still got like a spread and a rapid and a pierce and all that. Not really. It's not the same. It just bears a passing resemblance. Bow has been completely reinvented from Sunbreak and from previous incarnations of bow. Sure, there's a lot of carryover. We're not talking about, oh, we're going to get rid of all the old moves. What I'm talking about is this new bow requires a completely different way of thinking about bow, completely different way to combo, to chain your moves together. It's like a new weapon. And this isn't the first time Capcom has done this with bow. We've seen massive changes from one generation to the next. That's okay. It's scary to me. That's all. And because there's such a big change, bow felt kind of janky to me. Like I couldn't get into the rhythm of a smooth gameplay experience with it. And yeah, a lot of that comes down to training, but as you'll see, some other weapons, I didn't have that issue. So what that says to me is that bow has been reinvented, and it has. I mean, you got tracer arrows, the rock rain does something completely different. You have access to all your shot types, but again, they're not distinct shot types like they were before. The different shot types do different things. They serve different purposes, right? You don't have like this one shot type that you're spamming the whole quest. You've got to really mix it up. And that's going to take a lot more intentional practice, not just to train your muscle memory, but to understand how to put everything together. So right now, without any of that training, I feel like I'm just picking whatever shot and firing it and then switching to a different one. So this is going to take some work for me to get really proficient at, but I see the potential is there for sure. And then we move on to hammer. Now, hammer has always been a very simple weapon to use, and it has seen very few changes from one generation to the next. The biggest changes probably came with World, and then Rise Sunbreak gave us a few more cool moves with our switch skills. What I'm seeing in Wild's Hammer is a consolidation of everything. And that's true for most of the weapons, to be honest with you. All of these cool, flashy moves are consolidated down into one very streamlined move set. And so I was able to do pretty well working on muscle memory alone using the hammer. And I think you guys will probably have a similar experience. What I do really like that's new about hammer is these nice little repositioning moves that you can chain in various places. So a big complaint that a lot of people have had about hammer in previous generations is the mobility during your combos. If you don't start your combo in exactly the right spot, you're not going to finish your combo in the right spot. So what Wilds does is it lets you make these adjustments during your combo, and that's really nice. Other than that, didn't have an issue accessing the moves on the hammer. I feel like hammer is back to basics. Like it's the old standby when you just want to get out there and pound on that monster without too much thought behind it. The spirit of hammer is definitely still there. I think hammer mains are going to love it. And I think anyone interested in hammer is going to have a really good time with it. Let's move on to light bowgun. You know, I've put in so many hours on light bowgun, heavy bowgun. And light bowgun in Sunbreak was very simple. You could get away with shooting one ammo type and get amazing clear times. What Wilds has done here, well, they're kind of forcing you to switch ammo from time to time. It's like they saw what we all did in Sunbreak and said, you know what, you guys need to mix it up a little bit. You guys need some variety. So it's almost like forced variety. When it comes to light bowgun though, it's hard to tell how good the weapon type is because you know, you got to ask yourself, is it a limitation of the weapon type that I'm struggling with, or is it a limitation of this specific weapon itself? Because if they give you a terrible light bowgun, which this one kind of is, then you're going to be fighting that particular piece of equipment, you know? And so it's hard to tell, is this my equipment, or is this just something I'm going to have to deal with because of it's a light bowgun? Overall, it was okay. My playstyle's not optimized at all. Obviously don't know what the hell I'm doing, but just the overall feel of it was all right. It's almost like they gave you one of those shitty arena weapons and said, you know, good luck figuring this out. I think light bowgun users are going to be okay with this, but I think people new to light bowgun, I think the learning curve is going to be a little steeper for people just getting into light bowgun. It was already pretty high before. A lot of people were afraid of light bowgun because, you know, people thought, oh, this is just too much to manage. I'm just not going to deal with it. And I think this actually makes that worse. So I wouldn't be surprised to see even fewer people to get into light bowgun for this version. Let's move on to the lance. Well, my muscle memory didn't work very well with Lance. Pretty clear that I don't know what the hell I'm doing with Lance, but I know the potential's going to be there. It's just my muscle memory was not carrying over. I just felt like, where are my buttons? I don't know what to press. So this one is probably going to be a good one for me to do a tutorial after I figure it out myself. But you know, the power is going to be there. Lance has always been a very powerful weapon once you figure out what the hell you're doing with it. Oh boy, longsword. You know, longsword's supposed to be the low barrier to entry weapon, the one that looks really cool and has the cool moves and is just very powerful right out of the gate. My first impression is this thing is useless. You know, obviously it's not useless, right? But that was what I was feeling going into this because my fingers were not working on this one. This one's going to take some relearning, and then I need to figure out the new flow for this thing. Lance mains, I'm sure, are going to love it. I mean, you could say that about most of the weapons in here. I'm going to eventually figure it out, but you know, when I was relearning longsword for Rise and Sunbreak, it took me a full 2 weeks of solid gameplay just to really nail it. So I expect to put in that kind of effort as well on this one. You know, people say, oh, longsword's so easy to learn and dominate with. That's not true for me. It is definitely not true for me. I don't think I'm the exception either. I think there's quite a spectrum there. I'm one of those people on the far end of the spectrum where it takes a while for me to figure out longsword and really master it. So, you know, I kind of expected longsword to feel useless on day one for me. Oh, hunting horn. Hunting horn was a pleasant experience. I might just, I don't know. I'm very tempted to main hunting horn in this game just because my muscle memory was working for me. It really was coming through. The movesets that I had discovered were pretty simple. I'm sure there's some more depth to it than what I experienced, but I was really loving the fact that I was able to pick this weapon up and get things done with it. So low barrier to entry. For me, I hear from a lot of hunting horn mains that they like what's going on with it. So that's good. And this is probably a great game if you're horn curious. This is probably a good game to satisfy that curiosity with. Oh man, Gunlance. You know, Gunlance got the white glove treatment in Sunbreak, and I think it's getting that same type of treatment here with Wilds. I've been playing Gunlance since 4U. I played it a little bit in 3U. didn't really get into it. But in 4U, I put a lot of time into it. And Gunlance has evolved so much since then. It's ridiculous how much Gunlance has evolved. So it has already gotten a lot of care and love from Capcom. It's cool that they're continuing that tradition for sure. The only thing I ask is that Gunlance mains, please stop whining. That's all I have to say. Just stop whining. You're getting what you want. All right, just chill. This is an awesome weapon for sure, even though I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I was able to pull off some combos that my fingers had memorized. I don't think you're going to need to put in a lot of effort going from previous Gunlance to this one. Chargeblade has seen a lot of changes over the years. I think Chargeblade was perfect when it was invented, but Capcom decided to make a lot of changes to it. The fundamentals are still there, so the weapon's identity is still there and front and center on display. And I like how this Chargeblade has been streamlined. If you've put a lot of time into Chargeblade, you're going to find this one easy to pick up, easy to work with. If you're new to Chargeblade, I think this might be the easiest Chargeblade to get into. Still very complicated. Some people say it's a technical weapon. Sure, there's a lot to do with it. And it's got all these different modes and ways of charging it and files. And it can be complicated, but it's smooth. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's powerful. Defense, offense, multiple personality disorder. It's all in there. And I was loving it. And I like the changes. I like how it's been streamlined. I like how all the different predominant Chargeblade playstyles have been integrated into the same moveset. So you're not going to feel locked out of a particular playstyle. I think you'll be able to switch between playstyles as needed without having to go back and gear up with something different. What can I say about Sword and Shield? My first impression of Sword and Shield in this game is that this weapon is useless. I couldn't do anything with this. I feel like Capcom has made this weapon too realistic. It has been kind of weird in the past in that like it feels underpowered until you really master it, but it's also felt easy to use in all previous incarnations. You could literally button spam and beat quests. That's how cool Sword and Shield was. Now, that may very well be true, but the one big problem I had with it is the limited range. Like I felt like I had to be standing underneath the monster in order to actually hit it. I feel like his hitbox was pushing me away out of range. Like he could hit me, but I couldn't hit him. That's kind of what I was feeling with this. Not a problem once you get used to it, right? But my fingers didn't like it. I feel like previous Sword and Shields had a longer range. This was a little frustrating. And then I didn't have that muscle memory access to any really cool moves. So I was just kind of trying. I was just trying to hit this monster, trying to do combos, trying to pull something out of my ass. And I didn't. I just pulled something out of his ass and he shit all over me. So yeah, I think Sword and Shield is going to be great. But for new players, Sword and Shield has always been the so-called low barrier to entry weapon. I don't know. Is that still going to be true for this Monster Hunter? We'll find out. We'll see how many noobs complain about Sword and Shield. The best way to tell how good Sword and Shield is to have your girlfriend start off with that weapon. You want to get her to play Monster Hunter Wilds with you, and you will get a few hours of playtime out of her. And if you want to know how easy any particular weapon is to use, put it in her hands and say, good luck. If Sword and Shield still has that girlfriend appeal, it still has its identity. If she's struggling with Sword and Shield, then Capcom screwed something up. Great sword, another weapon that just felt impossible to me. I could not even hit the monster with this thing. He just kept demolishing me. I hear there's some really cool new additions to this weapon for repositioning and playing unsheathed. Definitely going to need to train up on this. Because if you come in with your old greatsword knowledge and think, oh yeah, this is just going to transfer right in, not true. This is not going to happen. You're going to need to take a little bit of time. For sure. I didn't take that time and I paid the price. So get on that training, dummy. Switch axe, you know what? Switch axe to me felt like the same old switch axe. And switch axe has always been a very cool weapon. And the changes that they have made to it over the years have been really nice additions. And switch axe has become even more powerful than ever before. And I felt like the switch axe is still a switch axe. That's largely my impression. So I could get it to do the basic things that I needed it to do. And I'm looking forward to learning how not to die so much. I'm looking forward to all the cool new things that have been added to it. Insect glaive. This is kind of like, where you're playing light bowgun and the bowgun they give you kind of sucks. Well, insect glaive, if they give you a slow bug, the weapon just feels slow because, you got to get your extracts so you can start doing your cool stuff. And it just, I hate slow bugs. So yeah, my basic combos were there. I felt okay with it. I could fly through the air. There's stuff I'm missing here for sure. There's a lot of advanced techniques that I'm going to have to learn for this. And insect glaive is one of those weapons that takes a lot of patience and practice and exploration. There's always a hidden move, at least one hidden move that most people aren't aware of and they just don't put it in their repertoire. I think this weapon's really going to shine. I liked the feel of it. I liked the fact that a lot of older knowledge is going to carry forward. You're not going to have to change your play style that much. But for new users, insect glaive has always been complicated to get into. And that's no exception here. Dual blades. Where's my spam on this? I could not figure out how to do my spam attacks. The one where you just stand in one spot and attack like 30 times. I did manage to get a few flying moves in there somewhere. This is a button spam weapon for me right now. It feels like dual blades still. So I don't think anyone's going to have an issue with that. But just missing my spam, guys. How do I do it? Your X plus A spam. You know what I'm talking about, right? How do I do it? Where is it at? I couldn't access it immediately and I needed it. Is dual blades going to be overpowered again? Probably. Dual blades element. Is it going to break all the speedrun records? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, folks. I felt really comfortable, though, in demon mode. And this one really works well with the more realistic look and feel of the game. It doesn't look like it's defying the laws of physics as much as it used to. And it doesn't feel like it's defying the laws of physics as much as it's used to. Maybe when I actually learn how to play it, it will. Right now, first impressions, no, pretty decent. And then the heavy bowgun. This one felt a lot faster than older incarnations of heavy bowgun. They might be bringing this experience a lot closer to light bowgun. Now, the one big difference between heavy bowgun and light bowgun is like your special ammo. Light bowgun is going to give you rapid fire attacks on your ammos, whereas a heavy bowgun gives you this machine gun type shot for your special ammo. And that's cool. I mean, that's a big distinguishing feature between the two types. In a sense, it's rapid fire, but it's not rapid fire on the particular ammo that you picked. So I kind of like that distinction, whereas previous distinctions between light bowgun and heavy bowgun have been just your mobility and the overall power of it. I think this separation that they're implementing here is a good way to help distinguish between the two types of guns. I'm okay with heavy bowgun. First impressions, pretty decent. Which one would I pick, heavy bowgun or light bowgun? That remains to be seen because I don't know how terrible these guns are. When you find that one light bowgun that you really like and you don't want to use any other ones, that's when you'll know whether or not you prefer light bowgun to heavy bowgun. Did I miss one of these weapons? Probably. I always leave at least one weapon out because I can't count higher than 13. I feel like there are still weapons in this game that newcomers will have an affinity for without too much trouble. And I feel like the complexity and technicality, while some of it has been removed from most weapons, I feel like consolidating all that technicality from all the various playstyles, because with switch skills and scroll swapping, each weapon was like 3 weapons in one. You could develop a radically different playstyle from someone else using the same weapon type, and it would look totally different from the next guy, and it would feel like a different weapon. So I think what Capcom has done here is consolidate all that variety of playstyles within one weapon type into one move set that allows you to integrate all those playstyles into one. That's the streamlining I'm talking about. And I think that's really cool. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. A lot of people are going to complain about that, right? Because nobody complains like Monster Hunter fans, right? But overall, for the community and for the learning aspect of this and for the variety, you don't have to lock into one playstyle where you just spam one move over and over. This is going to allow you to have access to a lot of different moves with one build and to use a variety of attacks and combos in a way that keeps the weapon from getting boring. And hopefully the monsters live up to their end of the bargain too and keep the variety of their attacks switching up. So we're forced to change our playstyle on the fly during the quest. That's going to be cool. And don't forget weapon swapping, right? You get to bring 2 of them out with you in the field. Not that that matters because we got fast travel and we got autopilot. So changing your weapons ain't that big a deal, but that's another video. So that's what I have for you. Weapons are looking good. They're feeling good for the most part. Some of the weapons that I thought should be easy to get back into weren't, like long sword, great sword, sword and shield. Those are the old standbys. So it was kind of weird to play them and to not be able to just jump right into them. But surprisingly, some weapons I was able to jump right into where I didn't think I would be able to. Gun lance, hunting horn, charge blade. So overall, very cool. Hope you guys find the weapon that you can fall in love with and experiment. Definitely try out different things, see what works really well for you. And it looks like I'm going to have to make some tutorials for you guys too. Things are changing up for sure. Whether you're coming from World or Sunbreak, this is a different ball game, folks. That's what I got for you today. I'll see you in a weapon tutorial. How about that?